Motions to approve our agenda. Do we have motions?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any additions? If not, let's vote. Is approved. Tiger Spotlight, do you want to wait on that, or they're not here?
Why don't we wait? See if we can, I'm guessing they're probably busy right now, but we'll see if we can get them at a meeting in the near future.
Nope. Public forum, anybody in the public that'd like to approach the board, now's your time. Moving on to our presentation. It's always a pleasure to see Mrs. Dulis and Mr. Williams.
Hello. Happy to be here today to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing at Westside with our tech class this year, and I'll just walk you through some of the slides. I did a SWAY presentation, which is one of the pieces in our Office 365 account, so I thought I'd play with it a little bit, and we have one of the classes working on something with it too. But this first picture just shows a picture of the room, and you can see we've got just different tables, 25 HP ProBook. They're older computers from the high school that we're using. And then the smart board at the front of the room is amazing. I received that from a grant from Pride and the Tiger. So happy to have that. It's a nice asset. And just to start off with, this is a Symbaloo page that I use with the kids. And a Symbaloo page is just kind of like their startup page when they come in. It's got the websites that we go to frequently, and they can save their passwords and usernames in there, so it's really quick for the kids to get on and get right to what they need to work on when they come in. They can access that from their classrooms or from home. I have it on my teacher website. So it's a nice piece that they can just get into and use. There's their Go Math site is on there, so they can easily access that. We have Dance Mat Typing and Typing Club that we use for our keyboarding. Tumble Books and AR are on there, and AR is Accelerated Reader. And at the beginning of the year, I go through the sites that we use a lot, walk the kids through them, show them how to use it so that the teachers don't have to take time out of their day to teach the kids how to use each one and what's there. So it's saved the classroom teachers a lot of time because that's already done in tech class with me. I did the STAR reading test with the kids at the beginning of the year that gave the homeroom teachers their benchmark, and then we did a mid-year check right before Christmas to see where the kids were at so the teachers can adjust their teaching to see what they still need to hit before the testing season starts. Then off to the right, I changed those out, the ones in purple. That's some of the research we're doing in some of the classes. There's one on animal abuse, so I went out and found some safe sites where kids can use those and still get practice getting to 2 or 3 different ones so they can get some of their research in. Also have some picture sites that they can go to where public domain, we don't have to worry about copyright laws or things like that, so they're safe places for the kids to go to. And at the bottom you can see there's Study Island. That's another one that Project Success uses, and the different classrooms use that as well. And then just some other sites like FunBrain and Math Pages. The ABCA has just tons of things, lots of keyboarding practice too, drop and drag, navigation things that the kids can use on their own at home if they want. Or if they get done with an assignment early in class, they don't have to say, what do I do now? They can just go to the Symbaloo page and all of these are approved. So kind of a neat piece that the kids can use. These are just some of the things we talked about. This is one of the bulletin boards I have for digital citizenship in the room, and we refer to this a lot. Before you do anything, you need to think. Is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary, and is it kind? So when we were introducing emailing, going through all of that, and the difference between each of those, Facebook, and we don't go on to that, but just talking about what is appropriate when you're in the digital age now. So hit that a lot just in the lessons that I do, and then also we do have some structured times. We just got done working on one with safe passwords. Kaya Johnson the media specialist, she hits on some of these as well. So we're both getting that. Here's just a couple of the pictures that our posters the kids did after we did our safe password ones. And we'll flip through those. Showing that strong passwords have at least 8 characters, using upper lowercase letters and symbols and digits. So yeah, if your parent, Jeremy, was saying he's getting grilled on his passwords right now, how you regularly should change. So those are just a few of the things that we'll do for digital citizenship. Then this is our Office 365 suite, and the kids are using that this year. It's kind of their one-stop place for everything. We've got OneDrive there where they save documents and they share them to me, so we don't have to be emailing things back and forth. We've worked on Word and PowerPoint so far, and also they've gotten into the email, teaching them etiquette. It's not like texting. It's so they've composed well-written emails. So we practice friendly letter writing. So they would email me, I would email them back. A couple of the classes even got into some attachments. So this is a real nice feature. I love the sharing aspect of it, and that it saves automatically. So that's kind of a nice thing. And also, I've mentioned, it ties right into Schoology, which is the learning management system that the high school uses, middle school, and we're toying with that for next year as well. So
the kids get email accounts, and then that will stay their account all the way through high school?
And parents sign a permission, and if they have not signed it, then there's a way to disable the actual email so they can't receive or send emails, but they can still use their Office 365 account.
Right now, she'll send me.
Yeah, and we really stress that it is just for school purposes and that everybody can see it. Whatever you put out there, it's there. We all can monitor that, so.
But it's nice to have it, then they're comfortable with it by the time they get to middle
It is,
school.
yeah, and just to learn the proper etiquette for emailing when they're younger so they don't develop bad habits. Okay, and then that was just, it's cloud-based, so they can access their 365 accounts on any device, anywhere where there's internet service. So that's a nice plus too. They can continue, well, obviously not have enough time in class, so they can go home if they've got internet and keep working on it. So this is another bulletin board in the room. This is their home roll one, so reminding them where their hands go for each one. And stressing the basics. Neither third or fourth graders have had any keyboarding to this point when we started this year, so I started them in the same place, and they have really grown. We talk all about posture and home roll placement, looking at the screen and walking around. They've really come a long way, and it's amazing to see what they can do, and it's so important to start these skills early on before they get the hunt and peck going on. And
Isn't it thumbs now?
one tried it. I had never seen that before. He was trying to type the bottom row with his thumb. So yeah, so they're doing great. And the suggested work per minute for second grade is 10 minutes by the end of the year, and third grade is 15, and we're right on target with that. We've done home row, top row, bottom row, and still working toward that, but they're doing very well. And here I leave that up on the screen if they need to be reminded which finger does what keys. We haven't done the numbers yet, but that's on our agenda yet this year. And I use 2 programs. Dance Mat is on our Symbaloo page, and that the third graders really like because it's animated and there's characters that are talking, and the keys are colored, very easy. And even for our new to country kids, they can pick up on that and they love it because it's something they're really successful at right away, and they can just follow along. Typing Club is not animated. It's both of these are free programs, and Typing Club will give me feedback showing me what kids have been accessing it at home, how much. It gives me their words per minute, and it's got a lot more capabilities too for a paid program, but for a free one, it's doing a nice job. But technique, that's what we're hitting. And word processing, working a lot on that right now. Here's one of the things things we did early on. I try to tie in all of the lessons with what the classroom teachers are doing. So regularly I check in to see what they're doing, what I can do to integrate technology. And we did a Wordle project early on with one of the teachers where the students would type their name into this program 6 times. Whatever you type in the most, then that's going to be bigger. And then it was adjectives that they would bring in to describe themselves. Then we did some holiday cards, and the kids were told if they whatever holiday they celebrated, or if they didn't celebrate anything, it was Happy Winter, and they got to bring in some pictures, different kinds of art, and work with inserting, sizing, moving things around. And then we've got the ribbon when we're at the very beginning talking about the tabs and the commands and where they can find the different things they need. Then some formatting practice. That one's a little hard to see. It's got mistakes in it, so we have to go, and I have another sheet where they have to align something to the center and bold this word so many times, change the font and size, and just a lot of practice. Here are some of the 4th graders working on their PowerPoints, and this tied into their independent reading projects. It was their mystery book. So they first read their book and filled out a graphic organizer talking about the main characters, the setting, main events, and then I took that information and we put it into a slideshow. So they had their basics in, and they inserted pictures, and then we got into transitions, their design themes, some animations, some sound, and that's when they're really having fun. So they're almost done with that part of it. So the homeroom teacher graded the content, and then I graded the technology piece. And we've got more research projects coming. Some of them are working on the animal abuse one, and then we've got some of the 3rd graders doing famous inventors. So just whatever I can do to tie it into what they're doing in the classroom. And this was at the end of class. They're giving the thumbs up because this is just the beginning. So hopefully this will continue into middle school, and they can keep these skills going on a regular basis, because they will need to continue with the keyboarding to keep those skills up and be ready for all of the high-tech things they'll be needing to do at the high school, and not worry so much about keyboarding, all the basics there. So that's what we're doing.
How often do you have?
I have them once a week for 50 minutes, which is really nice. And it flies. We try to do about 10 minutes of typing at the beginning and get into their lessons, and we always wish I had another 50.
What kind of device do these kids have?
Right now, they have those HP lab.
That's the ones they have in their own.
They don't have their own.
Yeah.
Next year, they'll have
Next
one-to-one.
year.
Yep, then we'll have
You're behind.
the ThinkPads probably, so that they're consistent.
We'll probably try to do something that's not that new this year. These are the teacher computers from the high school. They retired those between this last, so it's probably the last year.
So once they get it, you will need it for that. Once they get their own device, or
They'll bring that
Right.
to me probably for the keyboarding and the different projects that I'll be doing with them.
They have it all, some of the lobbying.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
I bet you're one of the favorite classes.
They enjoy it, but yeah, it's the Monday groups have missed a lot lately, but yeah, certainly.
the kids love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love technology.
And I know that teaching at that age is pretty bad.
Yeah, they come with a lot of skills, but it's a lot of iPad type skills. So this really takes them to another level and gets them ready for middle school and high school. And they just eat it up.
And you do a lot of projects with the other teachers too.
Mhm. Yep, whatever I'm going to do a word processing one with their next IRP. It's on a wax museum character, so they'll do again the reading and the organizer, and then they'll do the typing up in my class, and then we touch on the processing skills. So hopefully by high school they're ready to go.
So do you find many kids, you said they'll bring their homework home,
Yep, they
many
can-
kids that don't have internet at home?
There are a few, and some have internet. There might be times where they say they can't get on, so I'm not sure if it's all they're logging on or if it's a connection problem at home. But the majority can access it and love it when they can. Yeah, it just gives them that extra time, and they're really excited to keep working on it. You can. Might have to bring your own because most of ours are used. Yeah, you're welcome anytime. It's a lot of fun to watch them work.
Watch.
You're gonna, yeah.
Home run.
One of these.
Home run.
You'll have your own sway bread.
Sway with the ball. It's still a situation of sway presentation.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. And then we introduced flickers to the teachers, kind of it's a formative assessment piece where they hold up cards. I could have brought that. And then I attach every person to a number, and you hold up a card that looks like a QR code. And there's A, B, C, D, and all different places, so you can't see what your neighbors. So I'd ask a question, and you'd hold up A, B, C, or D. And then I would just take my phone or iPad and scan the room, and the data shows up on the screen.
Wow. It's the coolest thing.
Yeah,
She had 4 rows of kids in the class. They're all holding these cards that just random shapes on. She goes like this with her phone and pops it on the screen and tells her who answered what, who was right, what percentage of the class was accurate. Wow. That was,
It shows you in
staff
graph
was
form or
excited.
numbers. Yeah, it's kind of just a fun, quick way to do a little check to see if you need to reteach or not. It's exciting.
I'll save time for teachers too.
Well, that does, and it keeps the kids going too. It's just not the same old thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board forum, anybody in the board will have anything they want to update?
You know, when we were supposed to go to our different sites, I met today with Mrs. Noriega for 2 hours. But it was really good. She had she had talked to staff, she talked to students, and so she got input, pros and cons, and so I have lots of information. I'm not going to share it all, but it was very interesting.
I also met with Brian, and George, the custodian at the high school, to get some of their information. A lot of it we already know, but just get it down on paper so we have it.
I think it helps to see it too, doesn't it?
Yes, it
More
does.
than just hearing it or
Yep.
kind of remembering it. It's a refresher for everybody. We hit every school now?
I have a meeting with Tiffany tomorrow we're gonna start out at the middle school, and then we're gonna go to Parkside, look at her different areas, and then Thursday I have a meeting with Bruce Remmer.
Good.
And I still have to get a time schedule with Jeremy yet, so.
Good.
Bruce and I typically met with Darcy last Friday. Very good. Recap.
Good, anybody else? Under our action items, approval of the 2016-17 budget parameters. Motion to approve, do we have a second?
I'll second.
It's open for discussion.
Excuse me. These are something that I think we've had for several years. We try to tweak them each year based on what we know and what we suspect or what we project. So you can see sort of, and Bruce and I have met and talked about these. You can see what we're proposing to include in the budget relative to student enrollment, the general fund balance, personnel costs, inflation, state foundation aid, something that is new this year, long-term facilities maintenance revenue as that ramps up. State special education funding has changed a little bit, so we're trying to better incorporate that into our budget planning. And certainly, there's going to be some things that we're going to want to take a look at in terms of budget adjustments and focus on, and actually that is something that we'll talk about here in a moment. We also are also included with the budget parameters is a very rough draft of potential enrollment that should say projected enrollment for 16-17. Apologize for that, but you can see that we're projecting right now using relatively conservative methodologies, I believe. We're projecting an increase up to almost 2,500 students for the next school year, which would be about 22 more students. So, Bruce, you had a couple things I think you wanted to talk about, and then we can answer questions. We are looking for approval of this today. Excuse me.
The thing that I would add is in regards to the companion piece that I just shared with all of you, that is from schoolfinances.com, and that whole process, and the information that is on there on this page, which has all the numbers. For 15-16, that reflects the accurate information as to our final budget for 15-16 in the three funds: transportation, capital outlay, and the general fund. And then maybe more importantly is the 16-17 very preliminary numbers showing that we'll look to have, and I'll just concentrate a little bit on Fund 1, that we would have just a small deficit for 16-17 based on the enrollment information that has been just shared with you, and then and that's where, you know, all the things are driven by, of course, is by the enrollment numbers. And Scott and I are going to do some work on that tomorrow, I believe, and look at our schoolfinances.com. It's called NPRO. It's an enrollment projection model that we use that has a lot of different variables, and try to land on something that we're comfortable with as we move ahead for 16-17 and then in the ensuing years. But anyway, the information here reflects, again, it's very preliminary, and the assumptions that have come forward through the budget parameter document that you have, and I thought it was just a nice tie-in for you to be able to look at not only the numbers as they're turning out, but also the bar chart on the opposite side of that page, looking not only at 15-16 and 16-17, but into the future all the way to 2020, 2021. My goodness, that's a long ways away, and I wouldn't say you can take that information to the bank at this point in time. Again, it's really the 16-17 numbers are just very preliminary and very fresh. So moving ahead into those ensuing years, there's going to be a lot of change before we get to that last year of 2020-21. So I would entertain any questions that you might have in regards to this information here.
Do you have any questions? Vote. It's approved. On to our discussion items.
Last year, we worked through an activity where different potential budget priorities were created, listed, I should say, and then through a dot process, each of you had, I don't remember the specific number of dots, but each of you had the opportunity to sort of show which of the potential budget priorities you felt was most valuable. Last year's top 6, if you remember, were technology, advanced course offerings, English language learners, professional development, transportation, and facilities. Others that were listed included the achievement gap, safety and security, expansion of career and technical education, class sizes, core classes, pre-kindergarten or early childhood, extra and co-curricular offerings, variety of course offerings, substitutes, curriculum, attracting quality staff, student services staffing, a balance between activities and academics, and curriculum alignment. So I utilized last year's list and also just took some time to think about, as we move forward, what might be some priorities for us relative to budgeting, and created a list. I believe there's, I don't know, maybe 30 or close to 30 different potential priorities there. Tricia, are you able to open that up on the screen? Many of these are carryovers from last year. Some are perhaps new. Some may require a little bit of additional explanation. Anytime we budget or plan for a budget, I think I won't say it's easy, but it certainly is easier than doing other things related to budgeting, to create a list of things that we, like these, potential priorities or focus areas, that we believe could or would be good for our students, our staff, and our families, and overall our school district. It gets a little bit more difficult when we're asked, well, which of these is most important, or which are more important than others. And certainly you can see in the last paragraph there that at some point in time today, we've got these listed on sheets of paper, kind of small ones, but we've got these listed on sheets of paper back on the left back of the room there, and we'll ask you to take the dots that you've each been provided with and to identify. You have 3 red dots. Those would be the things that you consider the highest priority for consideration as we move forward with our budget planning for next year. The yellow dots, which you also have 3 of, I believe, would be, they're pretty important, sort of that medium priority. And the 3 dots that you have that are green would be low priority. You still think that they're important, but maybe not at the medium or high level. This list isn't meant to be all-inclusive. Hopefully it's relatively inclusive, but if there are things that you feel we should add to the list for consideration, or things that you would like additional maybe explanation of, or what might this mean, or something like that, I think it would be beneficial to bring that up now.
So could some things be combined, like attracting quality staff, retaining and recognizing quality staff? And I know it's 2 separate things, but I feel like it's, I don't know. Don't you feel like if we're recognizing and retaining our quality staff, we're going to have a better chance of attracting quality staff?
I think they're related, Karen. I do think the activities we might do to attract quality staff, because they're not our staff members yet, might be different than the actual recognition. And you're right, there's a correlation there, and they're both very important. I'm not opposed to that. I'm just kind of sharing my perspective on it.
Only 9 dots.
Well, if you talk to Tricia, you might be able to get a few more. But
Most important is
red is most important. Yellow is medium. Green is, still important, but probably the lowest of the 9 choices that I'd like to make.
One thing I kind of struggled with on this was, last year was the first year I was here, and as things arose, that's how we kind of prioritized class size, But on this, class size was number 8. So I guess I kind of struggled that I don't know how to prioritize something that hasn't happened yet. Our EL learning program, obviously the enrollment has gone up. That'd be something. Clean facilities, to me, is something that should be a standard. That should be something that's a given for our district. But deferred maintenance, our roof goes out, then that's a priority. I just started going through these, and transportation last year, which was number 5, we put that up kind of towards the top because we added our K2. So I don't know how to, there are things, obviously I have things that I feel strongly about, but I don't know how to prioritize them. And I did get some feedback last year when some people looked at this and said, class size, you guys aren't concerned about class size. And I don't think that's what we mean when we do this. But I did have a few community members and staff ask me why class size was ranked so low. Well, at that point, I think our class sizes were fine. And when it came up, we addressed it. So
Just by our policies, we're addressing the class size. that's.
So it almost, you know, I don't want to, yeah, I don't want to,
Budget.
yeah, I don't want to waste a red one that I feel that there's something on there I feel strongly about that's probably not addressed in our budget. But if class size comes up, I think we're going to revisit that no matter what, like we did last year.
I kind of look at this like, all these are priorities. What do we need to focus the most on the next 6 or 8 months? So that might be wrong, but that's kind of how I look at it.
By looking at our facilities, we're looking at class sizes effectively, so then you not worry about putting a dot by that because we're already addressing it. We're trying to. I get what you're saying, Deanna.
Well, and you bring up a good point as well, Karen, in that, you know, we do have the building bond referendum coming up in May. That largely could affect several of these bulleted items, depending on what happens. But we're still probably 2 years out or 3 years out before we'll start to see the effect of if the building referendum passes. So the other thing, a couple things that I would also share. One, this is, as we move forward with budgeting, and Bruce can jump in and either correct me or supplement what I'm saying, you know, we do put together, and I think it's very impressive, sort of a decision-making matrix that we have all these things that are listed, that this list of possibilities like that would fit into some of these, you know, maybe like theoretically add full-time title staff to Westside. I totally made that up, but and so we have this long list, and I think last year it was $1.8 million of potential budget adjustments, something like that, and this is one of the categories or scores that we assign to each of those items as an administrative team, along with other things that we utilize. So this is a part of the budgeting process. I think it's an important part because, and I get your point, Dion, and I get your point as well, Jeff. And it's, I don't know that it might be difficult for everybody to get to the same understanding of what a priority is. Is it now? Is it something that, you know, we could see happen? And you have to keep in mind that policies, our budget book, administrative guidelines also play a role in terms of where we allocate dollars to. So there's a lot that goes into budgeting, and this is a piece, but it's also an important piece. And I think it will be helpful to guide decisions. I don't know that answers or addresses.
No, I agree. I think I do think it's a good exercise. You kind of said it there, though. You know, looking at special ed programming staff, we added a half-time assistant. So to me, expanding that would be, we need a full-time assistant, or the EL, we need that coordinator we had talked about, but haven't gotten because we're adding teachers instead, which is a good thing. Kind of putting things on it. Examples, maybe. Something to look at next year.
Okay. I like that idea. And I think as I was looking through this list earlier today, so many of them, I don't know, 80%, 78% of our expenditures are for staff wages, salaries, and benefits. So obviously when we're looking at budgeting and how we may be able to improve things in our district, a lot of these items are going to have staff related to them or attached to them. That's just the business. It's not a bad thing. It's just the world that we live and work in.
I think maybe another way of looking at this list also is from just the perspective of where do we want to direct our resources and our efforts for 16-17. Is it in curriculum? Do we want to spend more in curriculum purchases? Clean facilities, you know, that can mean a lot of things, but to me what that means is probably adding additional custodial and maintenance staff. But again, just from the utilizing our resources standpoint, maybe that's where they're all priorities that, you know, I think we're all in agreement with that. It's just a matter of what are our expenditure priorities for this upcoming year? Where do we want to dedicate our resources to?
For me, just to sure how I interpret this is, it's all about educating children. So you can educate children in a clean classroom or a semi-clean classroom. So if we look at all the children, which ones are struggling the most? To me, I do our EL program, our intervention. That's how I kind of look at it. Everybody's going to look at it a little bit different. I mean, we all want safe schools. We have pretty much safe schools, but we can always make improvements. We can always make improvements to make them as safe as possible. But do we make our schools so safe that we don't allow any money for educating the kids? We've got to balance everything out too. So a lot of these, I think, if our referendum passes, will be pretty good too, with building and facilities, which would be great. But everybody has their own priorities. So we'll do the stickers.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and then Tricia and I will tally them over the, is there anything that needs to be added to the list that isn't on the list right now? That you can think of? Yeah, you can write it up there if you want to.
Bruce said it, I was thinking.
What?
Bruce said it, I thought it was.
Oh, there's some more red ones. What?
You get a little bit too analytical here. I thought I was talking to Melissa.
All about the money. And wine. Good food, maybe some clothes, spa, juice.
Yep.
You get some, Bruce?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we get to vote?
Yeah.
I'm almost thinking it's like Chicago that, vote early and vote often, because chances are with the administrative process we'll have some type of input.
Yeah.
maybe struck a deal with somebody. Bartered or whatever. Okay. Oh,
It's new shoes, I think people died. And put double knots
maybe you
in
need
them.
the is it
Velcro, yeah, yeah. You guys got that paper. We bought it, I had a laser color in there.
What do you think is going to happen if the referendum for the building doesn't go through? All more portable classrooms, it's going to be horrible. Yeah. It made them at the high school. I'm surprised we can all fit in the gym. Oh yeah, we had chairs. Oh yeah, we had chairs. Can't even fit. Well, we could if like the bleachers, like all the bleachers were.
We're this one less class right now.
Really?
Oh, that was just the.
I'm not surprised at all.
It's crazy.
Should have brought chocolate. How many dots did Lampard get? He's put 9 of them on administrative staff.
All 9 on administrative staff.
Yeah, you would.
I can tell you the ones that are.
He's kind of like a mascot, right?
But even those facilities,
I'd like to thank the Gatorade Mountain
I don't know.
who sponsored me this year. Schoolfinance.com.
All right, just Tricia and I will tally these and share that with you. And then at the February 16th meeting, I believe, we'll ask for your review and consideration or approval of the final tally. Just a quick visual check shows probably English learner programming would be one of the higher ones, along with attracting quality staff, career and technical education, minority advocates and family engagement received quite a few. Parent-family outreach and engagement has significant numbers on there. Those are the ones that just at first glance sort of jump up to the top. So we'll tally this for you, share it with you, and have it available at the February 16th board meeting for your consideration.
Are the administrators going to do this too? These same things?
Yeah, we'll get some thoughts about that. I don't want to follow through on.
I get to vote twice.
Red dots with a 3.5.
Orderly,
Yep.
little.
Oh,
Yeah, we.
maybe I can go to the
Yep, we'll do
caucus
some prioritizing.
tonight.
The ones from you, Kurt, will be with half the rest of the board. I do, I paid attention, I videotaped.
All right, moving on.
Safety and security.
This is our second readings of policy 7 and 11, 712, 13, 14, and 720. Did anybody have any questions on the second reading? Anything else, board members? Anything else from our student reps? Did you have anything you want to bring up or highlight, or
Not really. No.
you guys get your applications filled out for scholarships for, school board, MSBA?
Yep, not yet. Working on it.
Okay, don't forget.
Okay.
I just wanted to share that for our Marshall Sunrise Rotary meeting this past Thursday, we had a very nice presentation from our robotics team, and Monica.
Half of it. Monica did a great job.
Monica, thank you. So,
Thanks.
that was very nice.
Very good. All right, thank you, board members.